man. Can you hear the man?
All right. Hi. Good morning, everyone. I am Wendy SIlvers, founder of Million Mamas Movement and a transformational life coach. And today is Tea and Transformation with Wendy on Wednesday. And there's Tisha's tea. So, a little history is that I had a vision move through me called the Million Mamas Movement. It was first the Million Mamas March, and it was about engaging women and mothers and coming together to take care of themselves, each other, and the children. And anything that affects women and children is something that we address. One of them is bullying, and we are seeing the bullying on steroids in our culture today. And we're going to dive deep. I'm so delighted because my friend Tisha Marina Bernard, who is a wonderful person and is a bullying specialist, is here today for us to dive deep into a dialogue around bullying, transforming this paradigm in our culture, and really setting forth the parameters for a culture of peace. So please join me in welcoming Tisha Marina Bernard. Welcome, Tisha.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here with you.
Likewise. Likewise. I remember meeting you years ago at the Agape International Spiritual Center with your hula hoop and just being so drawn to your beautiful, radiant, joyous self.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I wanted us to dialogue. We've been talking about talking for so long. And I wanted to really have a dialogue about bullying because there is often a misconception for people around what bullying is. And so I thought that we could start with, what is your perception of bullying?
Thank you for starting with that question, because I think that is one of the most important questions in looking at this topic. Is there is a really big misconception of what bullying is, and it is often labeled with physical action. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times people will think, well, I didn't get beat up at school, so I'm not getting bullied. Or, a teacher will say, well, he didn't get hit, so it wasn't bullying. And that is where we have to start with educating ourselves and understanding that that's the misconception. In fact, I choose to not really even use the word bullying. I'm focused more on the word mistreatment, because it's a level of disrespect. It's a level of misunderstanding, and it's encompassed much more than a physical action.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I think a lot about, I didn't include it. I just wrote a Huffington Post blog about the quote-unquote Harvey Weinstein archetype, which speaks to really violence in our society that is epidemic. Yeah. And I was thinking about Gandhi, because Gandhi talked about the different types of violence. And I appreciate your presencing using a different word than bullying, because I believe what's happened in our society is that bullying has been normalized.
Absolutely.
And so here we are in a situation where number 45 uses Twitter and intimidating behavior and language to, I believe, do what I call the power over administration. What have you had an increase in people talking with you about this behavior, about the mistreatment of others?
Absolutely. And Wendy, I have to share with you that after the election, it was only about 1 or 2 months that I see an absolute astonishing increase in violence and mistreatment on school campuses. It wasn't small, it wasn't discreet, it was blatant, it was obvious, and it was very disconcerting.
Yeah. I am aware that during the election process, my antenna started to become finely attuned to the language and to the outward displays of violence.
Yes.
At the rallies, as part of the campaign. Do you think it's possible, Tisha, to eliminate violence in speech and action toward others?
Absolutely. I believe all of this is possible. It requires a new way of thinking. It requires us really stepping into this shift paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it really is important that one thing for me that really does activate me is when I hear people say, like, what is wrong with these kids these days? And that sparks such a fire in me, because it's like the question is, what is wrong with society these days? Youth are learning from us. Youth, they're in school, they're taught math and science. They're not taught empathy. They're not taught compassion. It's not the fault of the schools. It's just that's not the system. And when young people aren't taught that, they're going to play out what they see is around them in the world. And one thing that really sparked me is when I read the Dalai Lama said that if we teach all 8-year-olds meditation, it will only take 1 generation to remove violence. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, my mission just got deeper.
Right. Yeah. So tell us about your mission.
My first and foremost part of my mission is that I need the world to understand what's happening in schools. That is, I am the voice for young people across this world right now. It's one thing to read an article in a newspaper of, this incident happened on campus, but I've been in school systems across the country for the past 10 years, and often I'm walking into a prison. I'm walking into what a jail would feel like. I mean, obviously not to that extreme, but I've been walking into youth that are going to war every day at school.
Yeah.
And my mission is for people to really understand what is happening and how bullying has become an epidemic, that it's up there with other violent crimes, and it has to stop. We have to stop ignoring it and looking the other way.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you. My heart is so aligned with everything that you're saying. When I work with parents and caregivers and teachers, I talk about the fact that it's a relationship. The relationship is something that you have with the child, not to the child. And so your being in the schools is so important, because there has to be new ways that are infused into the educational and system. And I appreciate your speaking to the fact that it's system, because when I speak and when I teach, it's about systemic issues.
Yes.
They're systemic. We have racism and ageism and sexism, and we have white privilege, and we have white supremacy, and we have all of these isms that speak to a societal soul sickness.
Soul sickness. I love that. Yes. 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 It speaks to that everybody is responsible for this.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has to take action. This isn't that the teacher in the classroom needs to fix all this. It isn't that they need to have one more staff development workshop. No, we all have to take responsibility for this.
Yes. Thank you. Because isn't that the difference between being and speaking?
Yes.
I mean, I would love to be at one of your workshops. I would love to experience and fold into the teaching what you spoke about. You can't teach. You can model empathy. You can model it, social and emotional intelligence is not taught to teachers, nor is it taught in schools. They don't even model it. It is completely the power over paradigm.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So when you go into a school, can you walk me through what happens and what you impart?
Yes. So I walk into the school after they have selected about 40, what they call the leaders on campus. And so we also look at what leadership means. It doesn't mean that's the leader that's in the, leadership club. It could be the leader that is instructing other young kids to be mean, and they're leaders. Everyone has their own role, their own leadership role, right? So what happens is we really just start by, I always want to start by meeting the kids where they are. I don't walk in and say, here's my information, here's what you should do, here's what it looks like. I walk in and say, what's going on here? Like, what is coming up for you? What's happening on your campus? What does this look like for you? And we really start with just the team building, because even though youth go to school together, it doesn't mean that they know each other. They can be in a classroom all day with each other, but half of them might not even know each other's names. So we really start by building that team. Like, you spend more of your life at school than you do at home.
Yeah.
Like 75% of your life is at school. So that is where you have to be constructing your family and your community. And so really, like, building that team, building that community, then talking to them about what is happening on your campus. Like, what does mistreatment look like on your campus? Because it's different for everybody. It's different for all campuses. And then start to give them skills and tools on how to intervene effectively. So if you have a friend who's being teased and harassed, how could you stand up and say something that's effective, but then doesn't make you feel like you're going to be the next target getting teased or made fun of? And one of my most exciting walkaways from trainings are when youth say, I didn't know that I could make a change. Like, I didn't even know I had the power to do. All I had to do was say that. Oh, wow, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to help people. And our young people are just seeking ways to take action. And they're just waiting for that. So I give them those skills and those tools, and I get to just watch. I always tell them when I leave, I know that I just stood in a room with future presidents. I know I'm standing in a room with future leaders. And I always make a joke, like, I'm so lucky. I'm the lucky one here because I just, met the next future president. So really giving them the power, letting them know that you can make a change. You can do something about this.
And so what is something that you tell them to say? Because I know that the whole concept of snitching is frowned upon and can result in physical harm.
Yes.
And that makes a lot of kids stay silent.
Absolutely. I first really also on that lend my compassion to their situation. So a lot of times they're reprimanded for, why didn't you say something? And I just really first sit with them and understand, it's hard. First, let's acknowledge that you being in this position is hard. You're just trying to go to class, and now you're in a hallway with somebody making fun of somebody else, and all of a sudden you're standing by what am I going to do about this? So it's first meeting them with that compassion, but then also bringing forth stories of what's happening in the world, of what has happened when a youth hasn't stood up and said something. So recently there was actually a school shooting up north, and the young man who brought the gun, his first response was, I wanted the bullies to feel what I've been going through. And then when they spoke to a lot of the young people, they all said, oh yeah, no, I knew that he wanted to do this, or I knew he was having a hard time. And we talk about that if one of those youth that knew the potential of what was going to happen had said something, the whole outcome could have potentially been different. We really step into what snitching is, and what reporting information is. So if you are needing to go make a report, here's something that I'm hearing on campus, here's what I'm seeing on campus, and I'm reporting potential harm, versus I'm going to go tell on so-and-so because, You know, they were looking at me funny and didn't do what I wanted them to do. Really differentiating the two. They're two different things. And I just always emphasize the word snitching it's just got to go. It has too much power right now.
Yes. I really love what you're saying, because that distinction makes a big difference. I know when I was in high school, there was a girl who, I don't even know why she was still on campus, but she wanted to beat me up because she said I was giving her dirty looks.
Yeah.
And she also had a crush on this girl that I was friends with. And so in her mind, she created that I had some animosity toward her and I was a threat. So she wanted to take me out. She wanted to take the threat out. And I remember when we finally talked, because I went up to her and I said, "What's happening?" And scared, but like, "What's going on?" She's like, "You keep giving me dirty looks and blah, blah, blah." And I looked at her and I went, "I wear hard contact lenses and they really hurt my eyes. And my eyes get really dry. So when I'm walking through the halls, I'm blinking or I have a look on my face because I'm in pain." And so much of conflict emerges from a misunderstanding and a projection based on past pain.
Yeah.
So when I had this conversation with this young girl, I mean, she was a girl. She was, I think, 18 or 19, and she was hanging out at high school. There was like this whole dissolution of this anger because there was an understanding. And I often think of the definition of empathy and compassion. And so when I talk about or listen to you talking about empathy, I don't know if you do this, but when I teach my World Peace Begins at Home classes, I tell people you don't want to feel someone else's feelings.
Right.
Right? Because what use are you to anybody in terms of helping them if you're feeling their feelings?
Yeah.
You want to have, like you spoke about, empathy. You want to have an emotional vocabulary.
Yeah.
So how do you do with the kids in terms of that, in terms of an emotional vocabulary?
Well, one is we actually do an activity called Try Walking in My Shoes. And so I have particular scenarios where they get into a position where they might not normally be. So for example, if a youth is used to being the aggressor, the person that's doing the mistreatment, they step into the role of actually being the person that's being mistreated. And it's within their own development, their own transformation of, oh, this is what this experience is like. I never felt that. I never had that experience. So now it becomes personal. Now it becomes, okay, well, I can see this situation differently. Now I have a different perspective on it. And also kind of going back to what you said is that how can we get away from perceiving what we think someone is thinking about us? And I tell them all the time, like, when you're thinking that person is thinking about me, that person is thinking, what does that other person think about me? And nobody is really thinking about what you think that they're thinking and how messy that can get. So really looking at that part as well is, let's step aside of what we may think we're judging what that person might be thinking about us, and how can I look at this from a different perspective?
That is so powerful, Tisha. Because when I hear you talk about that, what comes to my mind is having a felt sense of what it's like to have that kind of language and energy directed at you.
Yes. To really have it, and also we just talk about hurt people. And when we continue to put on that judgment, or that person is that mean person, well, but why? There's a reason behind everything. So let's really start to explore what could be happening to that person, that their actions are coming forth like that. And how can we see how that person that's continuing to get hurt, the potential would continue to do the hurting. And looking at the cycle, it's all a cycle.
Wow. So when you go into a school, have you heard about the after you leave, do you do a checkup to see where they're at, and have you noticed that they continue to have a different experience?
One of my favorite stories is a school. School is located with its actual location is in between two rival gangs. So your survival is trying to get home back and forth to school every single day. That's I mean, your life depends on it. Right. And these particular students really took on the program and really decided, like, this is no longer happening on our campus. And so not necessarily eliminating the gang culture, because that, you know, that was just really outside of their territory, but within on campus, when they realized we're a team, because there's power in numbers, and they like use that. And they started to change the culture of, yeah, no, that doesn't happen. Mistreatment doesn't happen on our campus anymore. There's 40 of us that are going to like talk to you about it. And then each person, just like in life, each person, that it's the ripple effect. If you affect one person, and then that person affects somebody else. And these students just really took on that leadership role of, we don't want to see other people being mistreated on our campus. So we're going to stick together like a family, and we're going to make a change. And they made such a powerful change over several years on that campus.
Wow, that's so beautiful. So beautiful that you go in there and you're able to navigate the terrain of, do you work with tweens and teens mostly? Is that, or is it mostly
elementary, middle school, and high school?
Oh, wow. So it's, wow. Well, to be able to navigate those different developmental stages and to be accepted by the tweens and the teens is an art. Because in my experience, and you can tell me if you've also had this, so many adults go in and they look for the teachable moments. And even though they go in like, I want to be, you know, I want to connect with you, they're still holding this space of power over.
Yeah. No, Wendy, I'm so in love with what I do. Before I walk into a school, I'm already in love with the kids that I haven't even met yet. And I just really walk in there like, how can we do this together? What can I learn from you today? I let them know that every time, like at the end of our trainings, here's what I learned from you. Here's how you transformed my life today and yesterday. Here's how together, here's what I learned from you that I want to go take out into the world. And I can't walk into any room in life and, you know, think that I know everything. It's their world, it's their story. So I'm just there to meet them halfway and see how, as a collaborative effort, we can come up with some solutions.
Oh, God. Well, what a beautiful example of how love wins, how love is the healer and the connector, and that you embody that. Before I open it up for Q&A, I wanted to ask you, what led you to do this work? Was there something in your history? Was there something you witnessed? What was the inspiration for you to start doing this work?
I mean, I've always worked with youth as long as I can remember. I started a little babysitting club when I was growing up. I started the social justice club in high school. So I've always been an advocate for young people. Always, you know, thinking about the people that were advocates in my life that I could look back and say, you saved my life, literally. And I had an after school program in South Central for several years. And I watched how those young people would transform just because they had a place to go, just that they had a place to get food, just that they had a place to be loved. And I showed up one day and the school let us know that all the funding had been pulled and our program would be over in a week. And so my friends at the time found this particular organization that that was similar to kind of what I was doing already. And she said, I think this is the path that you want to take. And I learned more about it, and I created and I developed my own programs. And I went from there, and it was the first school that I had gone to where I learned about a young man who had gotten beat up in the bathroom. And that's when I really came to my awareness that what I knew from reading the newspaper or listening to article or listening to the radio had nothing to do with what was really going on. And then that's when my mission just became stronger than ever, is how can I get in as many schools as possible, and how can I tell the world what is going on? So I really thank you for allowing me to be here, Wendy, because if I could get on top of any soapbox right now and say, please, world, please listen. I need you to hear what's happening. Because as trendy as it might be, the children are the future, and these children are our future. So if we're looking on having a healthy and happy future, we have to do something now to make that happen.
Honored, so moved. It's so, in our life, as we travel the roads that we travel, we are drawn into and we connect with other people. And I am touched and graced by people like yourself who mirror back to me things about myself. Like from the time I was a kid, I can remember wanting to help other kids, and, starting to babysit at 12, and, not really being able to do that. And just always feeling like I was a child advocate.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that you said that I teach in my work is that I'm growing with my child.
Yeah.
I don't know more than, I can't presuppose that I know what their life path is. I only know what mine is, and it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
And listen, right? And listening to what you're saying about the difference between what we read, which goes back to this obsession with tweeting that our president engages in, and social media, and also I have a 16, almost 17-year-old child that I love. Every stage I have loved being around her and her friends. I love these kids, and what we put into them now, like in terms of time and commitment and dialogue and modeling, becomes what they live. I mean, because they're constantly taking in information, assimilating it. And so I love what you're doing. And you, in terms of anything that I do, you have please, arm in arm, I'm linking arms with you, heart to heart, because yes, the only way we're going to transform this culture is when we begin with the parents, and then we include the children.
Yeah.
And because they're the ones that are going to change policies. They're the ones that go out there. These kids are amazing. They're amazing.
Yeah.
Thank
we
you
can only teach what we know. We can only teach what we know. So we also are, I see a lot of times, well, why aren't these parents teaching them better? Well, maybe they weren't taught. Maybe we can just stop blaming everybody for everything. And maybe we can just step into, like, what could we learn? How can we learn from each other?
Brilliant. Yes. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I see that we have a caller, and I don't know if you have any questions or if you'd like to say anything, but this is a great opportunity because we're going to have a couple Q&A, and then Tisha is going to let us know how we can connect with her, and then we're going to move back with this information into our day. So area code, let me see what that area code is. Area code 919, would you like to ask a question?
Can you hear me?
I can. Welcome.
Okay. Hi. So this is Jamie Powell, and I am here in Ashland, Oregon.
Welcome.
And and I first of all, have tremendous respect for Tisha, and I'm just getting to know you, and I'm grateful for your show here. And I want to say that I also work with youth and shared power models, mentorship models, and am just about to help open a wellness center on campus, which is a safe space for young people to go and receive peer mentorship. And yeah, it's an exciting time actually for those of us who are allies for youth, because there's such a need. While, you know, there's the shadows that are for sure presenting themselves in bigger ways, it's like, you know, an invitation to step up our game and to expand and all of that. And I just want to speak to the question of, you know, as I'm doing this as a volunteer. Mm-hmm. And it can be taxing, you know, to step into the school system and so many hoops to jump through, even to get there as a volunteer, let alone to create a new program in the school as a visiting artist or a visiting teacher. Mm-hmm. To get perhaps even on the curriculum. Like I've always wanted to get like a nonviolent communication course on the curriculum that's offered, or social justice training, or, you know, different things like that. And so I just want to put this out there, an opportunity to receive some help and guidance and support as I'm navigating doing this work from my heart, you know, this passion, and also ways to do it and make it sustainable for me so that I'm not burning myself out as a volunteer, and maybe even, you know, using some of I'm a life coach and a massage therapist and a yoga teacher, and how to unite those healing arts modalities with also this dismantling racism training and bullying prevention training, and you know, other social justice topics that need to be that our children and teens are actually ready to learn. And I think the misconception can sometimes be that we have to water things down for them a little bit, but my experience shows me that I can teach youth a full yoga class just as I would teach adults. I can explain to youth, you know, what's going on in the realms of nonviolent communication, and they're ready for this education because they are equal conscious participants in this planet, in our country, in our world. And so I just, I guess my question, if I had a question, is help. And how do we help each other, and how do we collaborate, and how do we, you know, support those of us who are doing this work and make it sustainable, and so that we can thrive while we're doing this and have longevity while we're doing it. So with that, I'll just stop talking for a moment and listen.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for what you're doing and for that powerful question. And actually, you're so in the right place because as I call myself an awakened activist, and I'm also a leadership coach and a strategist. And so I have been on this path of how do I actually did an Instagram post last week because I'm a spiritual counselor teacher. I'm a coach. I do mindfulness, mothering, meditation, manifesting. And so there's absolutely a way to bring this all together. And I would be happy to talk with you offline. I think it's a many-pronged question with a roadmap that's specifically for you. And there are solutions, there are pathways, there are ways to what I call braid all of your modalities. And so I'd be happy to talk to you, and I'm grateful for your question. And I believe that we're living in a time right now where everybody is braiding all of their experiences so that they can be of maximum benefit to the people that they are looking to serve. So you're not alone, and it's a powerful question, and sacred self-care is so important when you are a leader and when you are a servant leader, when you are giving. Very, very important. So I have a lot to say about that. And I think we should do a call specifically about that, which I will set up, because I work with a lot of women and moms that are very eager to serve. And also, I think it's very important to be economically empowered, not just personally empowered, but to have financial independence, financial sustenance, financial prosperity as you're giving. So I'll end on that, and I'll ask Tisha if you have anything you would like to offer, and I will just listen.
I would love for you to host that call, Wendy.
Okay.
I have a lot to learn in that area as well. You said self-care is really, really important. When you come from your heart and you just want to lead and you just want to serve, and you know, especially Jamie in the school systems, it's a very challenging. I've been blessed to sort of had that path, to jump into a path that was already there, but I do know what it's like to start to just walk into a brand new school and say, I'm here and this is what I want to have to offer, and then roadblock after roadblock. But just keep in sight what you are offering is there, and there are young people that are waiting for it, and just to keep that mission alive within yourself. The obstacles come up, but just keep that mission alive. And then we are in a time where lots of, like you said, Wendy, lots of braiding has to come together to keep us sustained and to keep us on that path. So I also have a lot to learn in that area. I wish I had more to offer. I just think for all of us is just to hold tight to the mission. We're gonna just continue to go in a way into our world where other people are gonna, whether they like it or not, gonna be forced to step into our paths and our mission. So just let's all keep holding that space.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, Tisha. And I just am so honored to be in company with you all. It's so beautiful. And I see Jamie. Is that Jamie who's joined us?
Hi. It's me. Same person.
Oh, okay, great. Oh, it's so good to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
I was like, because I know several Jamies, so I thought, oh, we have another Jamie with us. So I want to. Do you feel complete, Jamie? Is there?
Yeah, I do. I want to say that that I've been doing this work for a long time, and that one of my mentors is Barry Tesler, Linden, who has a program called The Art of Money.
Yeah.
And it's always fascinating to unite our passions and our work with income and things like that. And it's been a journey for sure. But at this point in time, the need is so great that for me this past year, I've just thrown myself into volunteering in ways that maybe in years past I would have been more hesitant to set myself up with, how am I going to get paid for this, or how am I going to do this? But the local high school here in Ashland needed a grounded classroom that was specific.
Ooh, lost you.
A safe space. And it was the vision of the students there. They wanted it. And so it's actually opening November the 6th. And this concept has the potential to spread to other high schools, to other schools, to have specifically a youth-led safe space where the youth are learning how to hold space for each other rather than to gossip or engage in the sort of conversation that can lead to bullying, you know, the triangulation and the power over dynamics and things like that our adults are actually modeling a lot of the time. You know.
So much. So. Oh my gosh, I want to hear more about it. Thank you very much.
Totally.
What a powerful coalition just right here. So thank you very much for being here, Jamie. Thank you, Tisha, for bringing your wisdom and your heart. I'm so grateful to you. And I would love, because this is going to be shared with other people, please let people know how they can reach you.
So my organization is called I Choose Peace Academy. Powers have words, so even if when you say I choose peace, it's going into your cells somewhere. And right now I'm online, choosingpeace.org. The website is going through some construction, but that would be one way. And I offer parent workshops, I offer staff development, and I also offer empowerment programs for youth and families. So if you do have a youth that is either going through mistreatment or being a participant of the mistreatment, I have custom programs for each individual to really walk through that and design it and look at it. And I'm available for anything that is possible to speak on behalf of this epidemic.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Well, everyone, thank you so much for being here today. I am Wendy SIlvers. I am founder of Million Mamas Movement, and it is MAMAS, millionmamasmovement.org. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram. It's Wendy SIlvers, SILVERS, and I am happy to support you in maximizing your passion and your purpose, as well as helping you have harmony at home. So please join in for Tea and Transformation on Wednesday with Wendy. And I look forward to hearing from you and all about you. And until we meet again, know that you are loved beyond description. You are powerful beyond measure. And you are a force for good in the world. So go forth and spread your love. Peace and many blessings.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Tisha. Thank you, Jamie.
Yes, thank you both. I really appreciate the opportunity to learn. Thank you, and collaborate.
Ditto. Ditto.